Inside a jewelry shop on Maple Avenue, my daughter-in-law reached across the glass counter, lifted the velvet box right out of my hands, and said to the young salesgirl with a little laugh, "This elegant style does not suit her age. She needs something more grandmotherly." She set the box back behind the glass like she was doing me a favor. The salesgirl smiled the uncomfortable smile of someone who does not know what to do. My son Raymond stood 2 feet away pretending to look at watches. I did not argue. I did not make a scene. I set my purse on the counter very calmly, and I said, "You are right, dear. Let me think about it." And I walked out of that shop without the necklace, and without a single raised word. That night Raymond called me. His voice was the voice of a man standing at the edge of something he had been avoiding for years. "Mom," he said, "I need to tell you something. About the necklace. About what Diane said in the shop today. And about what I did not do." I sat down at my kitchen table. My reading glasses were on the stack of mail I had not gotten to. The lamp made a warm circle on the wood. "Tell me," I said. "And here is what came out that night. And here is what happened in the weeks after. And here is what my daughter-in-law learned about what age has to do with elegance. Welcome to Only Grandma Stories. My name is Beverly Ann Hutchins. I am 69 years old and I live in the same town I was born in, Grover Falls, Tennessee, in a house with a front porch. I use every morning and a kitchen. I have cooked 40 years of meals in. I am not a glamorous woman by any description anyone would use. I buy my clothes at the end of season sales. I clip coupons out of genuine enjoyment and not irony. I have laugh lines around my eyes that I earned one at a time and I have never once wished them away. But I know what elegant means. I know it in my bones, because my mother was the most elegant woman I have ever seen in my life. And she owned exactly 4 pieces of real jewelry and wore them all the way, until she died at 83 with her back straight and her chin level and a kind of grace that no salesgirl and no daughter-in-law and no price tag could have manufactured. One of those 4 pieces was a necklace, a simple gold chain with a single oval pendant, dark green stone set in plain gold, nothing flashy, nothing loud. My mother called it her Sunday necklace because she wore it every Sunday of her adult life, to church and to dinner and to any occasion that called for the best of herself. She bought it with her own money when she was 31 years old from a jeweler in this same town. She saved for it for 2 years. She gave it to me the Christmas before she passed. She pressed the box into my hands and she said, "Beverly, wear this on the days that matter. It will always be appropriate. It will never be too much, and it will never be too little. Trust the thing itself." I wore it for 15 years. Then the clasp broke the way clasps do, and I had it repaired twice, and the second repair did not hold, and I put it in my jewelry box, meaning to take it in, and I kept not taking it in the way you keep not doing the thing that feels too important to rush. Last spring, I finally took it in, a jeweler on Maple Avenue. A nice shop, the kind with carpet, and good lighting and cases full of things. That cost more than I think about. The jeweler told me the clasp needed replacing, and the chain itself had a weak link, and the setting around the stone had loosened over the years, and the whole thing needed proper attention. He could fix it properly, or I could leave it and risk losing the pendant altogether. He said it plainly and without pressure, and I appreciated that. I said, "Fix it properly. Do it right." That pendant was my mother's, and it will be my granddaughter's someday, and I want it to last another 50 years. He nodded like a man who understood exactly what I meant. He also showed me while I was there a display case of new pieces, not because he was pushing a sale, but because I had mentioned my granddaughter, and he had a section of simpler pieces, good quality but not extravagant, things a young woman could grow into. I looked. There was a small oval pendant on a delicate chain, rose gold, not green stone but cream, almost ivory, with a little engraved border. It was not my mother's necklace, but it had the same quality of quietness, the same sense of a thing that does not need to announce itself. I asked the price. It was within what I had saved for a birthday gift for my granddaughter, Lily, who was turning 16 that fall. I told the jeweler I would think about it and come back. I should tell you why I brought Raymond and Diane with me the second time. In hindsight, I understand it was a mistake, but in the moment it seemed natural because we were all meeting for lunch that Saturday, and the shop was on the way, and I mentioned I needed to pick up my mother's repaired necklace, and Diane said, "Oh, let us come. I love jewelry shops." And I thought nothing of it. I should have thought something of it. Let me tell you about Diane because she deserves a full picture and not a cardboard version. Diane is 38 years old, and she grew up in a house in Nashville where her father was a successful insurance man and her mother ran the kind of home that appeared in the lifestyle section of the local paper twice. They were not rich exactly, but they were the kind of family that spent carefully on the right visible things, and Diane absorbed that the way children absorb everything their parents treat as oxygen. Diane is capable and organized, and she keeps a beautiful house, and she loves Raymond in her way, which is a real way, even if it is not always a gentle one. She is not a cruel woman by nature. She is a woman who was raised to assess things quickly and sort them into categories. And the category she put me in, early and firmly, was sweet but limited. The kind of mother-in-law you are patient with because she means well and does not quite understand the world as it currently operates. She is not wrong that I do not understand the world as it currently operates in some respects. I do not have the right accounts on the right platforms, and I do not know what things are trending, and I could not tell you the names of most of the restaurants she and Raymond go to. But there are things I understand that Diane has not yet had the years to learn, and one of them is what makes a thing elegant, and another is what makes a person deserve one. I also want to tell you about Raymond because Raymond is the hinge of this whole story, and he knows it. My son is 42 years old, and he has his father's quiet temperament and his father's tendency to let uncomfortable moments pass rather than name them. His father, Harold, was a good man who kept the peace in our house by never raising his voice, and also by sometimes not saying things that needed saying, and I loved Harold completely, and I also know that silence is not the same as kindness. Not always. Raymond learned the quiet. He did not always learn the difference. Harold died 4 years ago. Heart, like so many men his age. Quick, the way the doctor said was a mercy, though no speed of it felt merciful to us. Raymond took it hard in the interior way he takes hard things. He wore it inside him and only let me see it in small moments. A catch in his voice when something reminded him of his dad. A pause before certain conversations. The way he still keeps Harold old fishing cap on the hook by the garage door. He loved his father well. He loves me well too, in his quiet way. He just does not always love me loudly enough for the room to hear. We walked into the jewelry shop that Saturday. The three of us, and the same young jeweler came forward, and he smiled at me and said he had the necklace ready, and disappeared into the back. Diane drifted to the display cases immediately, the way she does in any shop, moving through it like she is already familiar with what will appeal to her. Raymond stood near the door looking at his phone. The jeweler came back with my mother's necklace in a small velvet box, cleaned and repaired, the clasp new and solid, the chain whole, the stone set firm and bright in its gold border. He opened the box and I looked at it, and I felt what you feel when you see something you love returned to you intact, a relief that goes deeper than the object, a gratitude that is really about time and loss and the things that hold against both. I said, "It looks beautiful." He said, "It is a lovely piece, simple and well made. The good ones last." I nodded. The good ones last. I was holding the box, just holding it, not doing anything in particular, just being for a moment with the fact of my mother's necklace back in my hands, when Diane appeared at my elbow. She looked at the necklace with the quick assessing look she gives everything. I could see her sorting it. Plain, old, not current, not a brand she recognized. Then she looked up at the jeweler and said, "Could we see some of the pieces in that center case? The ones with the colored stones?" The jeweler looked at me. I nodded that it was fine, and he moved to open that case, and Diane leaned over it and started asking questions and picking things up, and it became Diane's visit to the jewelry shop, which was fine. It was a jewelry shop. She was allowed to look. It was when I mentioned the pendant for Lily that things shifted. I said to the jeweler almost as an aside, "I was also looking at that small rose gold oval pendant last time, the one in the far left of the second case, for my granddaughter's birthday." He went and got it and set it on the counter in its little stand, and it was exactly as I remembered it. Quiet and pretty, and the right size for a girl of 16 who would grow into it. Diane looked at it. I looked at it. I picked up the box, and Diane reached over and took it out of my hands. Not snatched it, not rudely, with the casual confidence of a woman who is used to being the authority in a room. She held it up, turned it, gave it the professional once-over, and said to the salesgirl who had come over to assist, "This elegant style does not suit her age. She needs something more grandmotherly." She set it back on the counter. The salesgirl looked at me. I looked at the pendant. I looked at Diane, who was already turning back to the colored stones, case with the manner of a woman who has helpfully resolved a small question and moved on. I picked up my purse. I said, "You are right, dear. Let me think about it." And I walked to the door. Raymond looked up from his phone. Outside on the sidewalk, I stood in the thin spring sunshine for a moment and I breathed. I was not devastated. I want to be clear about that. I am 69 years old and I have buried a mother and a husband, and I have had doors closed in my face and been talked, passed and patted on the head in a dozen different ways, and none of it has undone me yet. I know who I am. I knew it on that sidewalk. What I felt standing there was a specific kind of quiet. The quiet you feel when something has clarified. When a thing you have been half seeing for years comes suddenly into focus and you understand it completely, and you understand also what you are going to do about it. Diane came out still talking about a bracelet she liked. Raymond came out behind her and he caught my eye, and I gave him nothing. Not anger, not hurt, just my normal face, and I could see that bother him more than tears would have. We went to lunch. I ordered the soup. We talked about Lily's upcoming school, play in Raymond's work project, and Diane's plan to repaint the guest room. It was a pleasant lunch. I was pleasant through all of it. That night Raymond called. I had been expecting it, not because Raymond is particularly perceptive, but because guilt makes a man restless, and restless men call their mothers. Mom, he said, I have been thinking about today. Have you? I said. In the shop. What Diane said. About the necklace. About your age. He paused. I did not say anything. No, I said. You did not. Another pause. I should have. Yes, I said. You should have. This is the thing about Raymond. He knows. He almost always knows in retrospect what he should have done. The knowing is not his problem. The doing in the moment. When Diane is present, and the easier thing is to look at his phone. That is where Raymond has always struggled. She does it more than you know, he said quietly. The age thing. She has a whole category for it. Things that suit your age. Things that are too young for someone your age. Things that are appropriate for where you are in life. His voice had something in it I had not heard for a while. A kind of tired honesty. I have been letting it go. I kept telling myself it was just her way. She does not mean anything by it. Does she mean something by it? I said. It was not quite a question. A long pause. I think she means that you are old and she is not, and that is a difference she wants to keep clear. He said it simply, like a man who has finally looked at something directly. I think it makes her feel something, having that distinction, and I have been letting her have it because it was easier. There it is, I thought. The same word every quiet man reaches for eventually. Easier. Raymond, I said, I am not calling you to account for your wife. That is your marriage and your business. But I am going to tell you something, and I need you to hear it. I paused. I'm not a category. I am not an age bracket or a shelf in a shop marked suitable for older women. I am your mother, and I am Harold's wife, and I am the woman who raised you, and I earned every one of these years, and I will wear whatever I choose, and no one, not Diane, and not a salesgirl, and not anyone in any shop, gets to tell me what suits me. Silence on the line. I am also going to go back to that shop on Monday, I said, and I am going to buy that pendant for Lily, because it is exactly right for her, and I know it the same way. I know anything, which is by looking carefully and trusting what I see. Raymond let out a breath. Okay, he said. Okay, Mom. And the next time your wife does this, I said, I would like you to say something in the moment. Not for me, for yourself, because a man who watches his mother be spoken to that way and says nothing is carrying something heavy and you have enough to carry. He was quiet for a moment. I know, he said. I know you know, I said. That has never been your problem. I heard him make a sound that was almost a laugh and almost something sadder. You sound like Dad, he said. Good, I said. He was usually right. I went back to the shop on Monday morning, by myself, the way I should have gone the first time. The jeweler remembered me and greeted me by name. I looked at the rose gold pendant, again in the proper light, without anyone's commentary, and I confirmed what I had already known. It was right. It was exactly the kind of thing my mother would have called appropriate for any occasion, quiet and well-made, a thing that would outlast the trends around it. I also, while I was there, tried on my mother's necklace. The jeweler had a little mirror on the counter, and I stood there in my regular clothes, my Tuesday clothes, and I put on my mother's oval pendant on its restored chain, and I looked at myself. I am 69 years old. My hair is white, and I stopped apologizing for that 6 years ago. My face has the history of my life written on it, and I am not at war with that history. The pendant sat exactly right at the base of my throat, the dark green stone against my skin, simple and true. Elegant, I thought. Has nothing to do with age. It has to do with the relationship between a thing and the person wearing it, whether they are honest with each other. My mother and that pendant were always honest with each other. I intend to be also. I bought the rose gold, penna for Lily. The jeweler wrapped it beautifully, and I thanked him, and I walked out of that shop, with both boxes in my bag and the particular satisfaction of a woman who has made up her own mind. Now let me tell you what happened with Diane, because I know you are waiting for it and I want to tell it fairly. About a week after the shop, Diane called me. Not Raymond, Diane, which surprised me. Diane calls me out of obligation or logistics. She does not call me to talk. Beverly, she said, and her voice had lost its usual brisk assurance. I have been thinking about what I said in the jewelry shop. Have you? I said. I was making a pot of coffee and I kept making it because my hands needed something to do. Raymond talked to me, she said. He was very clear with me about the age comments, about a pattern he said he had been seeing. A pause. He said he should have spoken up in the moment and that he was sorry he had not. He also said that the comments needed to stop. I was quiet. I poured my coffee. I want to say that I did not mean to be hurtful, she said. And then, before I could respond to that, she said something I had not expected. But I think I was. I think I have been more than once. And I think I told myself it was helpful, and it was not. That took something. I know it did. Diane is not a woman who dismantles her own positions easily. The admission that she had been unkind when she believed she was being helpful, that is the kind of thing that costs a person something real. What made you look at it differently? I said. A longer pause. Raymond showed me a photo, she said, of you at his father's retirement party. You were wearing a necklace, green pendant, simple gold chain. And you looked. She stopped. I do not know the right word. You looked exactly like yourself. Which sounds obvious, but I realized I had been looking at you and seeing someone I had decided you were. And the photo was different. The retirement party. 12 years ago. I had worn my mother's necklace because Harold had asked me to wear it. He said it was his favorite of my things. He said it suited me exactly. I did not know that moment had been photographed, in a way that would matter 12 years later. Funny, the things that last. Diane, I said, I accept what you have said, and I want to tell you something in return. I sat down with my coffee. Elegance is not youth. It is not a brand or a price or a trend. It is an honesty between a person and what they choose. I have been choosing for 69 years, and I am very good at it. Not because I have expensive taste, because I know myself. I paused. That is something you are still learning. You will get there. You have time. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I would like to see the necklace, the one you picked up, if that is not a strange thing to ask. It is not strange, I said. Come to Sunday dinner. She came. The whole family came. Raymond and Diane and Lily. And Lily's younger brother Marcus, who is 9 and cannot sit still for more than 4 minutes, but makes up for it by being genuinely funny. I made a roast and green beans, and the good rolls that take all morning. And I wore my mother's necklace because it was a Sunday, and that is what the Sunday necklace is for. Lily noticed it immediately, the way teenage girls notice jewelry. Grandma, she said, that is so pretty. Is that vintage? It was your great-grandmother's, I said. She bought it herself when she was 31. She wore it every Sunday for 50 years. Lily looked at it with the focused appreciation of a girl who has not yet learned to pretend she does not care about beautiful things. Can I try it on? I took it off and put it around her neck. And she went to look in the hallway, mirror, and stood there a moment, and I watched her see herself in it. The old green stone against her 16-year-old throat. And I thought about my mother, putting it on for the first time at 31 and me putting it on at whatever age. I first borrowed it and now Lily, 3 generations of women finding out what it looks like on them. It is going to be yours someday, I said. Lily turned from the mirror. Really? Really. That is already decided. She came and hugged me without being asked, which at 16 is the highest form of affection, and I held on for a moment, and over her shoulder, I saw Diane watching us from the kitchen doorway. Diane's face had something in it I had not seen before. Not quite guilt. More like waking up, like a woman who has been walking through a room without looking at it and has suddenly actually looked after dinner while Raymond and Marcus were doing something noisy in the backyard, and Lily was helping me clear the table. I took out the small wrapped box, and I gave it to Lily for her birthday, which was still 2 weeks away, but I am a grandmother and we give gifts when the moment is right. She opened it and went quiet, in the way young people go quiet when something actually reaches them, through all the noise. She held the rose gold pendant up in the kitchen light, the little oval, the engraved border, and she said, Grandma, it is perfect. I know, I said. I knew when I saw it. How did you know? Same way I know anything, I said. I looked carefully and trusted what I saw. She put it on right there at the kitchen table and wore it for the rest of the evening. Diane came in and saw it and said, genuinely and without performance, "That is beautiful, Lily." She looked at me. "You have a good eye." "Thank you," I said. That was all. It was enough. Let me give you the ledger, because I know you want to know how it settled. Diane has not made another age comment to me. Not once in the month since the jewelry shop. Whether that is permanent change or careful behavior, I cannot tell you yet. Time will show it. What I know is that Raymond spoke to his wife plainly and directly, possibly for the first time in that particular way, and that it had an effect. My son grew something that day. It cost him the comfort of staying quiet, and he paid it, and I am proud of him for that. Raymond and I have dinner together more often now. Sometimes just the two of us. The way we used to before his life filled up with the business of his own family. We talk about Harold. We talk about the things Harold did quietly that we are still finding out about years after. Last month, Raymond told me he had found a box of his father's old letters in the garage. Letters Harold had written to me when we were young, and I had returned to him at some point, and he had kept. He said he had started to read one and had to stop because he was not ready. He said he would read them when he was ready. I said, take your time. The letters will wait. That is the thing about the things that are made with care. They wait. They hold their value. They do not require you to rush. My mother necklace is in my jewelry box tonight. The clasp solid and new, the chain whole. I will wear it Sunday. I will wear it for as long as I am wearing things. And after that, it will go to Lily as decided, because the decided things are the ones that last. Lily wears the rose gold pendant almost every day. She texted me a photo of herself wearing it on the first day of school, and I have that photo on my refrigerator, next to the one of my mother at her kitchen table. Two women, 60 years apart. The same careful way of choosing. The same understanding that a thing does not need to be loud to be right. My granddaughter is going to be fine. She is learning already how to look at things honestly and trust what she sees. The world will try to teach her that worth is something decided by other people, by labels and trends and the opinion of whoever has the loudest voice in the room. She is going to need to know that it is not true. That is what I intend to keep showing her. Not by telling her, by wearing what I choose, by walking into jewelry shops and picking up what calls to me and not setting it back down when someone reaches over and decides it is not appropriate for my age, by being exactly who I am, fully and without apology, in every room I enter, for as long as I enter them. Because here is what I have learned in 69 years that Diane is still learning and that I hope you take with you. Elegant is not a young woman in the right clothes. Elegant is a person in complete honesty with themselves. It is my mother at 83 with her back straight and her 4 pieces of real jewelry, and her perfect knowledge of exactly who she was. It is my daughter-in-law learning, one Sunday dinner at a time, to look at a person and see them instead of the category she put them in. It is a green pendant in a velvet box surviving 50 years of Sundays, and one broken clasp and coming back. From a jeweler on Maple Avenue, good as ever. This elegant style does not suit your age. That is what she said. I think about what suits my age. My age suits coffee on the front porch in the morning. It suits the long knowledge of what matters and what does not. It suits the patience that comes from having waited out enough hard things to know that most things pass and the good things stay if you build them right. It suits wearing my mother necklace on Sundays and buying rose gold pendants for girls who are becoming women and cooking pot roast for a family that is still, slowly and imperfectly and with some stumbling, learning to see each other clearly. My age suits all of that just fine. That is my story. One jewelry shop, one velvet box, one daughter-in-law who had to learn what she was saying, and a necklace that has been elegant for 50 years and will be elegant for 50 more. If it reminded you of something you wear that belonged to someone you loved, put it on tomorrow. Do not save it for occasions. You are the occasion. Drop a comment, subscribe to Only Grandma Stories, and I will see you next time.